Hi guys, and welcome back. All right, if you guys watched the video that Tom and I did last week, we talked at the very end of it, or Tom mentioned that the developer's not working for the consumer, for us. The engineering firm isn't working for us. He's probably actually a subsidiary company of the contractor. Sorry, I had to get that in. I feel pretty passionate about that. And he wants to make sure that, that it works next month as well. And also the city inspector works for the city, doesn't work for you. So, and you know what? Even your realtor, there are some fabulous professional realtors out there that I would hire in a second to do my search for me, with me, for real estate. And there are some out there that I don't think should be working for anybody, that just maybe need to go and find another job, because, and that's just saying the way I feel. Sorry, if the shoe fits, then you need to wear it. Sorry, because, and this is the thing, this is why I get so enthusiastic when I talk to Tom. It's because most realtors do not know anything about building science, and there is such a thing as building science. Am I not correct, Tom?
Yes, you're absolutely correct.
So we need to start cleaning up everybody's act by talking about it and sharing really great information. So what I want to know, because we have fallen into this trap, this has cost us big bucks. I'm going to tell you guys something right off the start. To hire this guy, he's not cheap. You know, you get what you pay for. But let me tell you something. Us one time, when we bought a condo, we were actually told that we didn't need an inspector, that if there were any problems in the suite, the strata would look after it. You're perfectly fine. Do you know what? I could have hired him 100 times over for what it ended up costing us at the end of the day when we moved in, and we were not aware of all the problems with the assessments that we were faced with. Mm-hmm. So you know what, it's sometimes you just got to say, you know what, he's going to be worth every single penny or dollar, we don't have pennies anymore, every dollar that I pay this guy. So now I would like you to tell us, Tom, how do I not just get a great inspector, how do I get a qualified inspector?
Oh, good. That's a really good question, Letty. Well, a qualified inspector is, you have to ask the right questions of the inspector. First and foremost, I want to just say that every inspector in British Columbia is actually licensed with the Consumer Protection Program in British Columbia. And it's actually against the law to pretend you're an inspector doing inspections of real estate transactions. So it's something the government implemented. I think it's a great law that they've passed. How do you know if the inspector is firstly licensed? You actually go to the BC Consumer Protection's website and type in the name of that inspector. There's actually a section that says find if your inspector is licensed, and see if they are or not. That's kind of first and foremost, just to make sure they have a license. Secondly, you can ask them what professional organization that they belong to. There's the association I belong to is ASTTBC, which is the Applied Science Technologists and Trades of British Columbia. That is a professional association that's constantly pulling in, drawing in the best inspectors in the province, promoting professional development and constant education days. There's HIABC, which is the Home Inspections Association of British Columbia, and then there's a couple of very small groups called InterNACHI and NACHI that are kind of an international group that the government does recognize as licensed inspectors as well. So asking them what association they belong to. You can be an inspector in British Columbia and not belong to an association, but one of the things that I stress is making sure you see what the standard of inspection is for those individuals, because they might not be inspecting to a higher standard. You know, I do inspect to the ASTT's BC standard, which is fairly typical of inspectors across the nation, but I actually have a higher standard for my clients, where I look at the whole entire inspection as if it's a property condition assessment, not just an inspection. So it's giving the client knowing when does it need to be painted next, when does it need to be re-roofed next, the drainage, all sorts of maintenance things that go into my report that people should be made aware of. The other is asking the inspector of their credentials. So they might be a registered home inspector or a certified home inspector, but do they have a mold certificate? Understanding what conditions mold grow in, and also asbestos. Asbestos is something that I've found in a lot of older homes that if you buy a home that has vermiculite in your home, you need to know there's vermiculite, because the cost of removing it is astronomical, and it could empty someone's bank account pretty quickly if you decide to buy a home and then all of a sudden you want to start renovating. All that vermiculite has to be removed properly by a qualified remediation contractor before you start renovation.
Can I ask you a question? If you find that, by law, it has to be dealt with, right? You can't just like hide it and get out of Dodge?
Well, a lot of people who are selling their homes don't actually know that they have vermiculite in their attic space because they've never had it tested. Well, the thing is with vermiculite is the WorkSafe BC looks at all vermiculite as an asbestos-containing product, whether it's been tested or not now. And that's actually only as of May 1st, 2017.
Oh,
so it's a relatively new regulation that nobody even knows about yet. But that's, as an inspector, why I'm an asbestos specialist, so that I can actually pass that information on to my clients. So again, asking your inspector, do you have qualifications in asbestos and mold? Because, you know, if you're on a job, what are you looking for? You're looking for the things that are going to cost your clients the most money, right? And asbestos can cost your client a lot of money. The other is, you know, how much is the inspection? How long does it take? So, you know, in inspecting a condo, you could say about an hour and a half to 2 hours plus time to put the report together. You know, sometimes the inspectors are in and out of these things in 30 minutes. It's way too fast to be able to test the systems and make sure the systems are actually working. The other is, what tools are they going to use? So do they use an infrared camera? There's a lot of infrared cameras now that are really priced properly now, that any inspector should be able to own an infrared camera, including a FLIR one. With FLIR one's what plugs into your iPhone, and it gives you great picture quality and great differences in thermal protection. So do they have a ladder? If they're inspecting a detached home, do they actually have a ladder that comes with them that they can get up on that second or maybe third story roof of that house so that they can properly look at your roof?
Well, I had an inspector once. I didn't think he could even climb the ladder if he had one. Sorry.
Well, at some point maybe I'll not be able to climb it either, but I'll give up. I'll be retired by then. So, you know, I had an inspector who didn't have a ladder in 2001, and that's what gave me the understanding that there's an industry that needs to improve, right? So, you know, what kind of tools do they have? Do they have a psychometer, which checks relative humidity? Do they use a protimeter, which checks for moisture behind shower tile walls? Or you can use a special connector where it probes into wood. It tells you how much moisture is inside of wood, like a sun deck post that's rotten. You know. The other is, how much does the inspection cost? You know, don't hire the cheapest inspector. The cheapest inspector is trying to maybe build their business, whereas myself, I inspect 400 to 400 homes a year. I'm not the cheapest inspector, but I do produce the best inspection reports in the industry.
You even did an A-lister not too long ago.
Yeah, that worked for a Hollywood actress. But it's, you know, I think that in order to know what you're getting, the cost, I think that with technologies today, what I do is I actually provide my clients with a sample copy of the report that I write, so that they can see exactly what they're going to get. So if you're going to hire an inspector, ask them, you know, what can you give me a sample copy of your report so that they can physically see what they're going to get and what they're paying for. They can read a copy of a different report and similar probably type of construction to the home that they're going to buy, and they can see exactly what they're going to get and say, yes, this is what we need. Because if they're not getting what they want, they need to find a different inspector. So really interviewing those inspectors, making sure your realtor should be referring out 3 inspectors so there's no conflict of interest. So if your realtor only refers out 1 inspector, call 2 others. There's a lot of inspectors like myself that are out on social media and they're putting out pictures and things that we find, videos. I have 2 YouTube channels where I'm putting out information to the consumer. That's how you met me.
That's how I found you.
And and what is that inspector putting out there to the consumer in the way of knowledge and education? Because essentially you're hiring an inspector to pull together all the information for you on a home. They've obviously been doing this for quite some time, and clearly they should be able to share on social media how they're doing it by now. So yeah, I think that those are the questions that you should be asking. Yeah.
Well, you know, it is so important because we've been caught up in this, and you know, I just can't stress it enough that if you're buying a condo or a house, but especially a condo right now, because that's sort of where we're at, is that the strata doesn't work for you either. We're going to cover that in our next video is buying a strata unit, what's all involved. The strata, if there's a problem in the building, the strata is not going to want to share it with you. If I'm selling my condo, I'm not going to share it with you because I want to sell it. I want to get out of Dodge. So the only guy that's working for you is the guy you hire. So make sure that you get somebody that's qualified, and ask for references. Don't be afraid. You're hiring him for that project. Now, I mean, you can't get everything because you're looking at walls and buildings, right, Tom? But you want a guy that's going to do absolutely the best job you can possibly get. So Tom, again, I want to thank you for your time. You guys, take a minute, subscribe so you don't miss. Go back and check the videos we did. Stay tuned for the next one because it's going to be a pretty important one in the market we're in, especially today. Leave some comments, or you have some questions for Tom, or go to his YouTube channel and check him out there. And yeah, like this if you can. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week. It's going to be a good one. Everybody that's in the market right now needs to see it. Take care. Bye. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.